All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back, week 10, College Talk Summer Series. Slowly seeing the participants come in. We got quite a few registrants today. Hopefully we have them all in attendance because we have an amazing group of gentlemen presenting for us today. And I would hate for them to give up their time and not have enough Q&A going on. So just a little housekeeping items, reminder of how we have been doing this, and we'll go ahead and present. I will introduce our presenters. Presenters will go off screen when someone else is presenting and mute, and that way we can focus on what they're saying. If you have a question, you are more than welcome to go ahead and put it into the Q&A box. Let's try to keep them in one place. Let's do Q&A instead of Q&A and chat, so we're not having to go back and forth between the two. So remember, just stick them into the Q&A, and if there is a question that can be answered, they will go ahead and they will do that. Otherwise, we are going to reserve the Q&A for the end of the presentation, which then all the presenters will be able back on and be able to present for you. I'm really excited today for myself, I think more than any of you, is that I'm getting to learn so much about this very particular type of application. I have never had a student apply to an academy, and so myself, I am learning. And I would love for all of you to learn more. So today we're blessed to have the United States Naval Academy and the United States Air Force Academy giving us information about their academies, their institutions, and what the application system and process looks like, as it is very different than a traditional college application. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to read quick bios. They're definitely going to give you more information about themselves, so don't hesitate to ask them questions. They're the experienced ones here, not me. All right, so first with the United States Naval Academy, I have Lieutenant Yakan Kim. He's the Field Admissions Counselor for the United States Naval Academy, in charge of the Naval Academy outreach to students for the entire state of California. When we spoke last Friday, he told me that he reads all the applications for the entire state of California by himself. How that is even possible, I'm not sure, but kudos to you, which includes 977 school districts, responsible for overseeing applications throughout the admission cycle and student engagement throughout California. So when I say expert, there he is. Okay. Next, for the United States Air Force Academy, we have Lieutenant Tony Needham and Lieutenant Rommel Spite. And I'm going to give you some information about Lieutenant Tony Needham, and then he'll give you some more information about himself. His hometown is Houston, Texas. His major at the Academy was Systems Engineering Aeronautical Focus. His activities that he participated in there was a soaring instructor pilot. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't know what this means, so you're going to have to tell me, but it says AFSC, and then there's a title there, and it's 92T0 pilot training. So I'm sure he is going to give you more information about that because I don't know what all that means. And then I have Second Lieutenant Rommel Spite. His hometown is Schuylerville, Indiana, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. His major was military history, class of 2020 graduate. Congratulations, he just did it in the midst of COVID. Sports that he was involved in was club frisbee at the United States Air Force Academy, and then his AFSC, which I believe means job now because I see that in parentheses, is pilot training. So that's it that I have now. They're going to give you more information, and I'm excited to hear about it. And so I am going to go ahead and we're going to start the presentation. I'm going to go off screen and mute myself, and we are going to go ahead and get started with Lieutenant Kim with the United States Naval Academy.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Yakan Kim. Thank you for the great introduction. So I do read most of the applications from California, but not every single one because there are a lot. So, but I hopefully will review some of your applications if you do choose to apply. Yeah, a little bit background a bit about me. I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised here. I'm actually based out of Los Angeles now, so I do outreach for the state of California. And in a normal year, I'd be traveling all over the state, giving admissions events and getting to meet all of y'all face to face. But because of the corona pandemic, a lot of it has gone virtual. I'm a 2014 graduate. I was an ocean engineer at the Naval Academy. Graduated with an honors degree, so I got to do a little bit of research as well with a professor, which was pretty cool. And I went down to flight school in Pensacola. I'm a helicopter pilot, and I just started this job working in the Office of Admissions in February. All right, and we'll kick off the presentation. All right, so who are we? Next slide, please. All right, so the Naval Academy was founded in 1845 with the purpose of educating the leaders of the next generation of leaders for the Navy and the Marine Corps. We have about an 8-to-1 student faculty ratio, so you're going to get a top-notch education. We're usually ranked number 1 or number 2 top public college in the country. So really going to have access to those professors. We have a 90% graduation rate. And the great news is all midshipmen that attend the Naval Academy attend school for free. And then after you graduate, you'll be getting a job either as you can go on boats, submarines, pilot like I did. We can talk a little bit more about that later. And we have 25 academic majors available at the Naval Academy. Next slide. All right, so the yard. The yard is what we refer to as for our campus at the Naval Academy, and the Brigade of Midshipmen refers to our student body. We're located in Annapolis, Maryland, which is the capital of Maryland. It was a fun fact, it was actually the capital of the United States for about a year. The great thing about that is our campus is located right in the middle of downtown Annapolis. So you can literally walk outside our gate and there's gonna be a bunch of restaurants, the mall super close. So a lot of things to do right outside of our campus. We're also 25 miles from Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So you're gonna have close access to all the amenities that a big city can offer. All right, so we have midshipmen from all 50 states, territories, and we have about 15 to 20 foreign exchange students every year. So we have people from all walks of life. We also have sailors and Marines that directly come from our fleet that were prior enlisted. And about any given year, we have about 4,500 students at the Naval Academy, and usually it's about 72% male, 28% female. But I think our highest record was about 30% female. So hopefully we can get that a little bit higher this year. All right, so what do we offer? All right, so what we offer for you is the Naval Academy is the premier commissioning source for the Navy and the Marine Corps. So you're gonna go there, it's a 4-year college, get an awesome degree. And while you're at the Naval Academy, your main job really is to go to school, and the academics is extremely challenging. You're going to be devoting most of your time to studying. You're going to graduate with a Bachelor of Science, so we'll talk a little bit in the future slide what majors are available, but no matter what you choose to major in, because of the core classes that you're required to take, you're going to graduate with a Bachelor of Science. We have 25 majors, STEM, we also have humanities, we have math and sciences. However, our school has a really strong focus on the STEM majors. So our facilities are top notch. And because it's a 4-year college, we don't have any graduate students there. You as an undergrad, you're gonna get a lot of opportunity to use those facilities and have that one-on-one contact with professors that you typically wouldn't have at a normal college. And the great thing about the Naval Academy is there's gonna be some awesome internship opportunities. So just a benefit about being close to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, you're gonna have close access to like a lot of the 3-letter agencies that work in government in D.C. So I know midshipmen that got internships at Capitol Hill, internships at the CIA, working on computer programming. So a lot of really cool opportunities. While you're at school, you're actually gonna get paid about $1,100 a month. And there's a little bit of caveat, so you're only going to see 125 your freshman year, and it goes up slightly every year, but you're actually getting paid to go to school, which is crazy. Not only do you get paid, everything is paid for, so we like to call it a super scholarship. So not only is tuition paid for, room and board is paid for, food, medical, dental is covered, laptops, uniforms, and anything you might need for the next 4 years at school is going to be provided for you. And while you're at the academy, you're going to be exposed to the different tracks that you can go down after you graduate. But I think one of the strongest things about the Naval Academy is the wide variety of jobs that you can go into after you graduate. So you can be on boats, you can be on submarines, you can be a Marine Corps officer, you can be pilot, a Navy pilot, Marine Corps pilot, you could be a Navy SEAL, you could go work in Intel, you can be a medical doctor. So there's a lot of different jobs that you can go into, which I think is awesome. You don't really need to know what you want to do when you apply. Next slide, please. All right, so these are the majors that we have. Like I said, we have a really strong focus on the STEM majors, so engineering, math, and sciences. Let's see. We also have humanities and social sciences. Our political science major department is actually superb. They have really great professors, and I know a lot of my friends really enjoyed that. We also have languages available, so you can major in Chinese and Arabic, but we also have those available minors as well. And I think one of the really cool opportunities about studying at the Naval Academy is we have a 1-to-1 ratio with military and civilian professors. So a lot of our professors, they're Ivy League educated, have PhDs from Harvard, Yale, and they're teaching you in a classroom size about 8-to-1 student-faculty ratio, which is amazing. So I had a bunch of friends that, you know, majored in aeronautical and astro engineering, and one of their professors was a prior astronaut. He was a Navy pilot, jet pilot that went into the astronaut program with NASA, and his last couple of years in active duty Navy was to teach at the Naval Academy. So he taught aerospace engineering. So that's pretty cool. You get to learn aerospace engineering from someone that flew in space. So those are the kind of opportunities that could be available at the Naval Academy, and it's a pretty unique opportunity. Next slide, please. All right, so athletics, sports is huge at the Naval Academy. So regardless of if you play a varsity sport, club sport, or intramurals, you will be playing some kind of sport. We have 30 teams that compete at the NCAA Division I level. To my knowledge, there's only 2 schools with more Division I sports teams than the Naval Academy, and that's Ohio State University and Stanford University. So both of those institutions have 30,000 plus students attending it. So we have 4,500 students. So we do have a huge proportion of our student body playing varsity sports. We also have 18 club sports that play at an extremely high level. They compete against a lot of the junior colleges in the area, and they travel all across the Eastern Seaboard as well. And so if you're not a varsity athlete or a club athlete, you'll be participating in intramural sports. And we have the fall, spring, summer season. And every season, the Brigade of Midshipmen, they vote on which sports to play, and that rotates every season. And next slide, please. All right, so I'll touch a little bit on the application process here. The applications is open right now. So if you are a rising senior, you're gonna be a senior this fall, the application cycle is open for you right now. And the way to apply is you go to our official admissions website, just type in usna.edu, and it'll take you right to our main page, and you hit the apply now button, and that's how you get started. So our application is 100% online. I would say it's pretty reflective of a normal college application with some additional requirements. So that additional requirement is going to be the candidate fitness assessment. You have to do 6 exercises like the push-up, run, sit-ups, pull-ups to assess your physical level. You also get an interview from a blue and gold officer, which is a volunteers for the admissions department that are located all across the country. You'll be doing an interview with them, and we require recommendation from your English teacher and your math teacher. And let's see. So that's the application for the Naval Academy. The second side is to attend any of the service academies. You do need a nomination from a member of Congress. So that's going to be your local congressional representative, the 2 senators from your state, the vice presidential, the presidential, if you apply for that. So you're going to need to apply for a nomination as well. And that's kind of like a completely separate application. And we can talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A. All right, next slide. So I'm going to give a quick overview. About every year, we have about 16,000 people that start the preliminary application. And because our application is pretty long, it is pretty strenuous, there's a lot of requirements. By the time the admissions board finds you scholastically qualified, you're physically qualified, you're medically qualified, and you obtain a nomination from a member of Congress, that number drops down to about 3,400 students that actually qualify to compete for an appointment. And every year we give out 1,100 appointments to the Naval Academy. So what that really means for you is, hey, if you complete your application, get everything in early, you get that nomination, your chances of getting an appointment are actually pretty high. So that 7% acceptance rate to the Naval Academy it can be a little bit deceiving, because that's based off of the 16,000 people that start the preliminary application every year. And on top of the 1,100 direct appointments to the Naval Academy, we have about 250 students that go to our preparatory school every year, and about 40 to 50 that go to our foundation program, which is it's like a prep year for college. So what that really means is, hey, apply, and your chances, if you complete your application, your chances of getting in are actually quite good. All right, so advice from admissions. We're looking for a strong foundation in math and sciences, so we're looking for you to take algebra, geometry, trig, pre-calc, calculus, and chemistry and physics, and we really want to see those A's in those classes, because we take that as an indication of how successful you're going to be in the academics portion of the Naval Academy. We don't advertise. However, we recommend that you strive to be the top 20% of your high school graduating class. So ACTs and SATs. I know that's a pretty stressful part of the application, especially right now because of coronavirus. And we can talk a little bit more about that in the question Q&A, but it is still going to be required as of now for the admission cycle. What I really recommend is, hey, keep checking our website on a regular basis, because we are reviewing our policy right now. We know that there's a lot of things outside of the control of students. So please check for official word if there's going to be any changes to our policy. But as of today, currently, it is still required. AP courses, honors courses, IB courses are strongly encouraged. They really kind of show how successful you can be in the college academic environment. And lastly, we're looking for well-rounded students. So we're not just looking for the straight A students. We're not just looking for the athlete. We're not just looking for someone that is just good at one thing. We're looking for someone that can do it all. So play sports, have leadership capabilities, or can academically be successful at the Naval Academy, because those are the type of students that we want to become future officers in the Navy and the Marine Corps. All right, next slide. All right, so top 5 reasons to go to the Navy is, hey, if you go to the Naval Academy, everything is going to be paid for. You can literally walk in the first day of school with just the clothes that you're wearing, and everything is going to be provided for you, which is, I would say, a huge benefit. Like, you're going to come out of college with, I thankfully graduated with no debt, and I was able to get a job right away, and you're guaranteed employment. So another stat is the Naval Academy, or I guess the service academies in general, we have the #2 top paid graduates in the country 5 years after graduation. So what that means is, I guess a common misconception is people think that if you go to the Naval Academy and then you graduate, you're just going to be working for the government for free. No, you're actually getting paid a salary. They're going to be paying you for your work, and it's actually a pretty competitive compensation, because of all the college graduates, on average, there's only one college where the graduates make more money, and that's Harvey Mudd in California. Location-wise, we're located in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a beautiful town, beautiful campus. Highly encourage you to check it out if you haven't done so when things kind of calm down. And you're close to DC and you're close to Baltimore, so there's a lot of things to do right outside the campus, and you don't have to drive that far. And leadership and character development, which is probably the biggest one for me, is I would say going to the Naval Academy is a pretty unique opportunity because you're going to be going to school with 4,000 other students that are striving towards the same goal, to be commissioned as officers after you graduate. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to grow as a person, in your academics, your leadership, and it's just the people that you're going to surround yourself with really push you to levels that I would say it's hard to find anywhere else in the country. We also have a 90%, 89% graduation rate. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to do that are hard. It is going to be challenging, but what that really shows is, hey, if you put in the work and you're willing to, you have the right motivation, and you're dedicated, your chances of success are actually pretty high. Next slide. Please follow us. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, good ways of information about the admissions process. We actually do like outreach videos on a weekly basis. And please check our website as well. So especially with all this craziness going on with coronavirus, there's a lot of rumors and people talking on forums. The official news only comes from our website and these sources. So please check those. Next slide. All right, thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to invite Lieutenant Needham and Lieutenant Rommel to come on and take on their portion of the presentation, and we'll go on from there. Keep your questions coming.
All right, well, Lieutenant Kim, thank you for that presentation. It was pretty good. Now we're gonna move on to the Air Force Academy portion. Can we get a next slide, please? So a little bit about us. I am Lieutenant Tony Needham. I was born in Venezuela and I immigrated to the United States when I was about 3. And what drove me to the Air Force Academy was started with my grandparents putting me on a super sketchy ultralight and me just loving it. From then on out, I loved flying, and then some recruiters came to some of my schools and got me interested in just military service. My parents, being the good people that they were, looked up online and found the Air Force Academy. Seemed like a match made in heaven. So I got in. I'm a 2020 grad, just like Lieutenant Spite. At the Academy, I studied systems engineering. I got to work on some pretty cool projects, and I was fortunate enough to be an instructor pilot with the Air Force soaring team, which was one hell of a unique opportunity. Now I'm here recruiting for the Air Force Academy, and I'm waiting for pilot training, which starts in March. Lieutenant Spite.
Like he said, I am Lieutenant Rommel Spite. Let's see, from a very young age, I wanted to be in the military. I learned about the academy, I think, freshman year of high school. And from that moment on, I knew it was for me. At the academy, absolutely love my experience there. Like, my biggest thing about the academy is the friends you make there. Bonds you make there will last your whole life. And I think it's really cool that I have friends in almost every state in the country. And not many people can say that. At the academy, I studied military history. I was in the club Frisbee team, which was a great opportunity. Got to travel a lot, some cool places. And I will also be on pilot training, just not sure when yet.
Alrighty, let's get into the Academy. Next slide, please. All right, so the Academy, like the Naval and Military Academy, we focus on whole person development. We focus on the academics, the athletics, and character and leadership. Our mission statement is to educate, train, and inspire men and women motivated to lead our air and space forces. And to do this, we got to build you up from the ground up as a whole. So let's talk on that first pillar. Let's get into academics. So we have some world-class facilities here. Like the Naval Academy, we primarily focus on STEM. This picture right here is some of our cadets working with NASA. They're on the, what NASA refers to as the Vomit Comet, testing out their Falcon satellite items and making sure they're ready for their launches. At the facility, we have an 8-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. Very small classes. We have our own aero lab with several wind tunnels. We have several cadaver labs for our biology students and numerous capstone rooms for all the projects that we do throughout the year. Our academy staff primarily focuses on military development, but we maintain about 40% teacher enrollment just so that you can get the perspective of not only the military, but the civilian side as well. Next slide, please. As you can see here, we're the #3 ranked public college in the US right now. We usually compete with Navy, Army, and the Coast Guard Academy for these spots up here. We primarily focus in engineering, but we do have a substantial amount of liberal arts majors offered. Next slide, please. So you can see here, these are all our majors, roughly 27 in total. All the majors with an asterisk on them are majors that offer a minor option, and they are all fairly open as to what jobs you can take afterwards. Our primary job after the academy is pilot. We have about 50% that go into pilot training. You can be any major. And all these majors have offers for you to go to graduate school right after graduating the academy. Next slide, please.
So the next pillar of the whole person concept is athletics. And what we say at the Academy is not every athlete is a cadet, but every cadet is indeed an athlete. And you can get to show this throughout your time at the Academy. So we have about 27 D1 sports and 10 of which are for females. And one big thing I like to say about this slide is no matter if you go to Academy for sports, at any time if you want to quit the sport, focus on academics, you will still have your scholarship. You will still be able to stay at the Academy without playing the sport all 4 years. And then we have intramurals and club sports as well. Like I said, I was on the club Frisbee team, got to travel a lot, got to see awesome places, been to colleges in California, all the way to North and South Carolina. So I traveled quite a bit. And then finally, intramurals. Every cadet plays it. There's one intramural each semester at the Academy. There's about 9 sports, and you play within your squadron, which is about 100 people in a squadron. So then you choose your sport and you play against other squadrons. It's a really fun time. And if you do well enough, you can go to the championship and your squad will do well athletically as a group. And the academy experience, this is what makes us different from the Naval Academy, West Point, or just any other regular college. We have the honor code, we have military training, we have airmanship, and our awesome location. Next slide, please. So the honor code, we will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate among us anyone who does. You learn this the first day of basic training at the academy, and you begin to hold this pledge very seriously throughout your 4 years at the academy. And my biggest thing with this is I've never felt like I had to be scared leaving my door unlocked in the dorms, or if I leave my door unlocked in my car, I wouldn't be worried about it because I know that my classmates and the other classes at the academy all follow the same honor code. And it doesn't matter because we will all follow this and no one's going to steal a lie, obviously. And it's just a very unique experience that you don't find many places else. And it's always been cadet made and cadet run since the first years at the academy. The honor code has been created by us, held by us. And if someone breaks the honor code, the people who judge them are a jury of his cadet peers. So it's a very unique system. Next slide, please.
All right, let's talk about how cadets get their start. This is basic cadet training, a 6-week program split up into 2 periods. Each of them are 3 weeks long. This is what turns high schoolers into cadets and eventually into Air Force officers. Our first period starts with physical fitness, basic military knowledge, military training, such as how to put on the uniform, how to walk, how to talk, and just how to speak and live military. There are several inspections that you'll go through in this phase to make sure that you are ready to move on to the next phase and to make sure that you know how to essentially live as a cadet after you graduate. Our second beast primarily involves more physical and more personal development. This is meant to build you up, make you strong, and make you a team with your fellow cadets. This includes things such as weapon training, small unit tactics. All our obstacle courses will be done and run through this phase several times, and will really bring you together as a team and give you that special resiliency that the military has. Next slide, please. So after basic cadet training, the military training does not stop. What you see on the top screen is just one of our formations that we'll perform for our staff so that they can inspect us and get a good look at our discipline. On the left, you have a helicopter that's probably about to land on the terrazzo in the cadet area. We have these done several times a year. We'll have anything from helicopters to Ospreys, and every few days we'll have a flyover of some kind. It's always really cool. I just want to say, like, senior year, after 4 years at the academy, I would always run to the windows to go see those jets fly over because nothing made you think America more than a jet just roaring over. And our bottom right is our Character and Leadership Symposium. Now, this is a worldwide event. We'll have speakers from all across the world come to the United States Air Force Academy to talk about their various experiences, either in command or in stressful situations, everywhere from military officers to doctors to enlisted. Even athletes will come and talk about all their experiences. Next slide, please. Now, these are some of our summer programs. At the top, this is a picture of basic cadet training. As you can see, the focus is on the basic down there, but the cadre for this basic has been training for months to lead him, to teach him how to become a cadet in the Air Force Academy. Lieutenant Spite spent some time as a cadre for basic. You want to talk a little more on that?
Yes, so I worked basic cadet training both my junior year and senior year, but I felt senior year was where I learned the most about myself as a leader, and also just like taking these kids who were high schoolers just a few weeks ago and turning them into cadets. It was just one of the most rewarding feelings I ever got in my life. One of the best experiences, learning about myself and how I lead and how to better tailor my leadership style to fit each and every one of these basics. And even to this day, I remember my cadre from basic, and hopefully it had the same effect on them. And it's just a very rewarding experience. Absolutely loved it. Very long days, but it was very rewarding.
Other than basic cadet training, we have also several leadership programs to not only just develop you, but give you a little bit more information on the Air Force as a whole. The middle picture, you see a cadet riding in the back of an aircraft. This is our operational Air Force visit experience, where in the middle of your academy experience during the summer, you will be sent to an Air Force base, fully paid to shadow people in their jobs, whether that's pilots, maintainers, security forces, special forces, or even the firefighters or logistics personnel. You will be able to go and talk to every single one of them, get their real thoughts on how the academy is and how the Air Force prepared them for such a thing, and just how they live their life now that they graduated. And it's really a very enlightening experience for what you will do after you graduate. In the bottom right picture, you see what's called our FURL program. This is specifically for our civil engineers. They get to do some hands-on experience doing some civil engineering and seeing how that job field will suit them after they graduate. We have experiences like this for nearly all our majors that have job-specific requirements in the Air Force. And it's a great opportunity for you to put your skills to use before you graduate and have to do it in a very much real-world scenario. Next slide, please. Now, this right here is what makes the Air Force Academy the Air Force Academy. These are our airmanship programs. At the top, we have our soaring program. This is where in the summer you get 14 flights in a glider. And at the end of those 14 flights, you have the opportunity to solo. And mind you, solo does mean by yourself, nobody else in that aircraft, and you get to ride around, do a few maneuvers, and we trust you to go up and land this all by yourself. Now, of course, you got to earn that. You got to prove that you can fly. But we have some world-class instructor pilots with some very good training to get you through that program. In the middle, we got jump. You got about five jumps. And this is the only program in the world that would let you free fall by yourself for the first time. Now, of course, there's about 40 hours of training that you have to do before that first jump, but this is the only place where you can do that. Lieutenant Spy, you want to talk a little bit about jump?
Yes, so like you said, I took jump the same time you took soaring. One of the coolest experiences in my life. Like the first time you're hanging outside the airplane, watching the jump master, waiting for him to tell you to go, and you let go of the plane. The coolest, biggest rush you ever felt in your life. And that's the first jump, like you said, by yourself. You've had all this training, and the reason for this, I think, is because the Air Force wants to like test you, wants to give you all this training, and to show you that under these stressful situations, you can always fall back to your training, and your training will get you through it. So you really must train hard to get through this stuff. But one of the coolest experiences throughout my academy was jumping out of an airplane 5 times by myself. And also the bottom picture is Powered Flight, which is a program I also did my senior year. And this is kind of an intro into flying. So you have an instructor pilot, and literally the first time you get up in the air, he'll take off, and then he goes, you have the aircraft, and you're flying around. He's teaching you different maneuvers. It's a great experience. And for my class, we weren't allowed to solo the plane, but I think from now on, every class afterwards has the option of solo. So if, like you said, with the same as the gliders, if you put in the work, show that you're capable of flying by yourself, you have the opportunity to solo in the Powered Flight. And it's just a good intro into flying if you want to be a pilot in the Air Force.
There's a whole lot to the Academy other than just these airmanship programs, but they really are my favorite personally. But speaking of other opportunities, we have several programs to help you develop yourself as a person and to better yourself as an officer in the United States Air Force. These are our immersion programs. At the top, we have languages. All of our language minors and majors will offer you opportunities to go either during one of our breaks in the summer or on spring break to go to another country and just completely throw yourself into their culture, into their language. And it is the best way to learn those language skills when you're on the ground having to speak it. We also have cultural immersion trips, which more focus on, well, the cultural aspects of the other regions around the world. Everything from Asia to Africa, South America. You'll be able to travel, meet the people, have guided tours around the countries, and just learn more about a lot of the places around the world. We also have foreign exchange visits to where you'll be able to visit our partner service academies around the world. All our allied nations will exchange cadets, and you'll be able to stay there for a semester and learn about what they do, how they do it, and essentially build those bonds that will help you out as you become an officer and work with our total force partners. We also have Service Academy and ROTC exchanges. So this is where cadets get the opportunity to visit Navy, visit Army, Coast Guard, or they can just go to a college ROTC from like A&M, Georgia, so on and so forth. The list is limitless there. And it really gives you a perspective on kind of what if I went to college or to regular college, or what if I went to, say, Navy Academy. And it's really a fascinating program. Next slide, please.
So not everything is work at the academy. We do have about 85 clubs you can join. Not all of these are athletic. We have a debate club, a mock trial. We have falconry, where we actually handle our falcons that we have at the academy. So about 75% of cadets at the academy are in some club. And it's just another opportunity to make new friends outside of your squadron and also gain leadership experience, just not in a training setting. It's very relaxed. You have as much fun as you want. You can be totally committed to a club, or you can be less committed. It just depends on how your schedule is or how you feel at the time. So it's totally up to you. It's one of the few things at the academy where like it's definitely your decision and you can really choose how you want to do it. And
One
sorry,
thing to
along with that, if there isn't a club that like isn't made that you really want to, you can always try to start a club. It's so much easier to find other people who have the same interests as you, so you can have more input, and then you can push your idea up and have a club made. Next slide, please. And then the day every cadet looks forward to is graduation. It's literally the most unbelievable feeling I ever had in my life. Even though we didn't have a regular graduation with family there due to COVID crisis, we still had it on the terrazzo when we had the Thunderbird still fly over. And at that moment, when you hear class dismiss and your head's in the air, I still get chills thinking about it. It was an amazing feeling because, you know, those past 4 years of work you just put in is finally worth it. You finally have your job. You finally feel like you're going to actually do something to earn that thank you for your service that you hear people get. So it's a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So these are our career opportunities when you graduate the Air Force. The leftmost column includes all the career choices that will usually incur a higher service commitment. And this is simply because they put in a lot more money, a lot more training into you after graduation. The top three, pilot, navigator, air battle manager, includes a very long list of training requirements afterwards. And same with our special operations in the middle. The bottom left will give you a graduate school slot for you to develop those skills and become fully licensed doctors, dentists, lawyers, nurses, you name it. About 10% of our graduating class gets graduation school slots right off the bat. The other 90% will have various opportunities throughout the Air Force to go to graduate school on the Air Force's dime to develop those skills and to get those masters and even doctorates. Our middle column are all the AFSCs, all our Air Force specialty codes are jobs that don't require any specific major. You can be any major and still get into these jobs. I'd also like to add, like I mentioned earlier, pilot does not require a specific major either. Everywhere from engineers to English to material studies, they can all become pilots. Now, our jobs on the right, they have specific majors that they would like you to be for those jobs. Kind of makes sense because me as an engineering major, I can't exactly do the work of a chemist, so, and vice versa. Next slide, please. So this is how you get started in your academy admissions process. Go to academyadmissions.com, click start your online application. There's also several options for you to learn more about the Air Force Academy, for you to get more immersed. There are videos on cadet life, all the information you could possibly want, and ways to contact us for you to talk one-on-one with an academy graduate. There's also the summer seminar program, which opens up on your junior year for you to come to the academy for a few days and experience the life of a cadet. And for those of you that are younger than high school age, we have our Future Falcon program, which will allow you to just sign up for our newsletters, see our videos, get more in touch with what is going on at the academy so you can learn about it as you're thinking where do I want to go after I graduate high school, so on and so forth. And I cannot stress it enough, academyadmissions.com. That is your one-stop shop for all things Academy.
So for the application, there's like 5 different prongs. You have to be competitive academically, physically qualified, medically qualified. You have to have that good character and leadership and examples of leadership throughout high school. And then concurrently, while you're doing all those things on your application, you must also apply for a nomination from Congressman, House Representative. Next slide, please.
If this is sounding very similar, it's because our process is very identical to the Naval Academy. These are some of our average academic scores for the cadets that have gotten into the Air Force Academy. What I want to press on this slide is that there are cadets that have gotten in with much lower and much higher scores. We look at the whole person concept. We want people who are physically fit, who are leaders of character, so on and so forth. In other words, do not close your own door, right? Go to the site, complete the application, and as long as you complete it and you can get a nomination, you have a good chance of getting in. Don't shut it down just because you may not have the highest GPA in your class. Next slide, please. This is a little more on the nomination process. It's the same as the Naval Academy. Every U.S. citizen can apply for both of your senators, your U.S. representative, and the vice president nomination. There are several other nomination sources, like if you had parents that are active duty military or disabled veterans, so on and so forth, but everyone can apply for the U.S. senators, your representative, and the vice president, and I recommend you apply for all of them. And when you apply to these sources, you have to tell them who you're applying for. You can apply for both Navy, Army, and Air Force, or you can just apply for one, but they will give you a specific nomination to a specific service academy. Next slide, please. This is our prep school program. Some applicants are not selected to get into the United States Air Force Academy right away. However, the Academy is still interested in you. If they are, they will offer you a slot at our prep school, which is on base right outside the Air Force Academy, or a Falcon Foundation scholarship, which they'll send you to one of a handful of select colleges around the US to train and develop for your Air Force Academy experience. This is a very good program, and if you get accepted into it, at your time at these preparatory schools, you will apply for the academy again, and you will have a significant boost to your score and will very likely get in as long as you are performing well at these locations. Have anything to add to that, Lieutenant Spite?
I would just say the preparatory school at the academy is usually for prior enlisted people. Well, I would say about 80% would be prior enlisted. So you could go there directly, just the first time applying, but more than likely, if you were in this case, you would go to the Falcon Foundation prep schools.
Next slide, please. This is pretty much just the whole gist of the academy. No tuition costs, no room and board. Like Navy, you get a stipend. You are considered active duty Air Force, so you get all the medical coverages that are included. And like the other service academies, you have a guaranteed career afterwards. It's a very rare opportunity, and I highly encourage you to apply to at least one, if not all, of the service academies, because you won't find an offer like this anywhere else. All right, that's all we got.
All right. Oh my gosh, I can't thank you enough. I'm so excited over here on my end. I have a ton of questions, but I will leave those to hopefully the students that are on and I know I have other IACs and school counselors on here and parents, so definitely chime in with your questions. Oh, sorry, there was one more slide there to end. So again, this is week 10 for me. So I'm not going to spend time on my slides at all this week. You all know how to get a hold of me. You know exactly what it is that I provide. You know what I do and where I'm located. And so I'm just going to go ahead and go directly to the Q&A. put up the contact information. If you need to get a hold of me, you know how. My email's there. On my website, I have my phone number, and you're more than welcome to, look at the services and things that I have to offer. I really want to use this time to allow these gentlemen who have given so graciously of their time to answer important questions. Like I said, I have not gone through an academy application from beginning to end. So, I'm learning as much as all of you that are on today. So I will go ahead and we will leave it for Q&A right now. So there is one question in there. I'm gonna put this out to anyone who wants to answer it, because I don't know what a DoD MERB is. It does look like it's directed towards the Naval Academy, so that would be you, Lieutenant Kim.
Yeah, I can take this one. So DODMER is actually for all the service academies, and if you're applying to the ROTC or NROTC scholarships, it's the same physical that you're going to get to make sure you're medically qualified. There were some delays, especially at the beginning of this year, but they are open and operating, so it shouldn't really affect the application cycle. So I know students have already completed their medical physicals, so I wouldn't worry about it being too delayed.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Needham, were you going to pipe in there?
Yes, I just want to ask Lieutenant Kim, I know the Air Force Academy has a requirement to where you have to submit so many amount of forms before they will invite you to do the DODMERB. So that might be the problem that you are facing, is that you haven't submitted enough forms. There should be an option on your application portal to see who your point of contact is for that medical review board. You might have more information there.
Oh, okay, thank you for clarifying, Rosemary. We see that it was not for Naval Academy, it was for the Air Force Academy, is who she meant that to be addressed to. So makes sense now. So can you talk a little bit more about the, I think this would go towards the Air Force Academy, the prep, the prep programs that you have. So if you apply and you are not accepted to, or you have your nomination, you've done all that, and I'm assuming that there are rejections, right? So you're not accepted. There is an alternative way of getting to that education.
So there's no direct way to apply, sorry, to a prep school. It's something the academy will handle on their end. So you will get that information from them. But the biggest difference between a prep school and the Falcon Foundation is usually they see people who go to Falcon Foundation as more independent and just need to fine tune maybe one area, let's say English. So they're sending them away for a year, while the prep school at the actual academy is more of a whole academic just reboot. It's pretty much for priors who have been in school for a while, so they kind of want to get them prepped again on how school works, because they're going to be going hard next year at the academy. And like Lieutenant Needham said earlier, once you go into these programs, you have a very high chance of getting into the academy next year. So if you get in these, it's kind of like another year of work, not really a setback, just added time going on into the future.
Okay. And when you say, so where is this? Is this at a different university that they're sending you to? Or is it a Air Force?
So the prep school is at the academy, just maybe a few miles down the road, but the other Falcon Foundation, there are different schools. I'm not exactly sure. I was a direct admission, so I'm not sure where the school's at, but I think there's 3 of them. I want to say either Lieutenant Oliver or Lieutenant Severin went to a prep school, so they may know that they can chime in.
Great.
And I'll chime in real quick. So the Naval Academy has the same program. We have a prep program in Newport, Rhode Island. So same thing, you can't apply directly to the prep school, but when the admissions board looks at your application and it looks like, hey, you seem like a really great candidate, but your academics or your sports might be a little bit on the weaker side, they can offer you the prep school. You basically go to school for a year, work on those deficiencies, and you're going to have an extremely high chance of coming into the class next year. And a lot of our prior enlisted go there as well because they've been out of high school for a couple of years, so they work on their academics.
Great, thank you so much. So I don't see, I see some people who know each other going on over there. So any other questions? I'm going to pose one, and you may or may not know the answer to this with regards to the SAT and ACT still being required for application. We're located in California, and our test centers are being canceled left and right. And there is a very strong possibility that these students will not have any opportunity to take these exams before the applications are due. What, if you know anything, what that will look like?
I know for the Academy, the Air Force Academy, the requirement is still there right now, but during the pre-candidate portion of your application, they kind of waived that part for now. It's kind of like pushed off for later, but at some point you still will need an SAT or SAT as of right now. But I've had talks with our leadership, and that's one of their big things right now is figuring out how to deal with that issue right now. But as of right now, they still will be needed at some point throughout the application.
Okay, thank you.
And like I said in my presentation, they still are required for the Naval Academy as well. However, we do recognize the logistics. It's a bunch of challenges, and it's beyond the student's control. So we are reviewing our policy. There's nothing that's come out yet, but it's like a daily process of reviewing the policy. So it just takes a little bit for things to change because it's such a it's a huge decision. So
Right.
To tag on a little on what Lieutenant Kim said, they are reviewing. There have been discussions about not requiring the scores. However, those are very high level talks at the moment. I highly recommend everyone applying try to get those scores in, but in the unlikely event that they cancel all testing dates and no one is able to get those scores, we will reevaluate and we will do our best to work with our applicants to get them to where they need to go.
All right, thank you very much. So I did have one question, which I'm hoping that it was answered in your presentations that was submitted by a student prior. And it said, are there tuition discounts if my father is a veteran of the US Air Force? So apparently he obviously didn't know that going to an academy didn't cost him any money at all, as long as he did what he needed to do with regards to the application process. So I just wanted to make sure that he knew that I got his question and it was addressed, and hopefully it was answered in your presentations with regards to that there are no tuition costs to attend an academy. Can you talk a little bit more about the stipend that is given? I know that there was some stuff going on in the Q&A with regards to the stipend, and I think Lieutenant Kim, it was you that were talking about how much you get at the beginning, and then it becomes a little bit more as you're a senior, but it's really not that much because I don't know why, but can you tell us why?
yeah, sure, I can talk about it. So I think all the service academies get paid the same amount actually, because we're all cadets, midshipmen get paid the same amount by the government. But the way it works at the Naval Academy is they only give you $125 your freshman year, and then it goes up to about $200 your sophomore year, and it goes up every year. The reason for that is because, like I said, you don't need to bring anything with you to the first day of school. So uniforms, computer, all that stuff, books, those are all paid for up front by the Naval Academy. And they basically take out a loan. It's about $5,000 to $6,000, and they pay for all of that up front. And they're using your salary of $1,150 to progressively pay the loan out over time. That's kind of the reason. But technically, you get paid $1,100 a month, but you only see about $600 a month at the most. And that's because, like I said, uniforms, books, haircuts are free, so you can get as many haircuts as you want at the Naval Academy. But that's all coming out of the paychecks of the midshipmen. So that's kind of why.
So
Okay,
I will say for the Air Force, I think we get paid a little bit more each month, because I think maybe freshman year, I would say around $300 maybe. Does that sound right?
So, okay, so let me preface this. It's a little delicate,
It is.
but we all get the same base pay. However, the academies do their deductions differently. So for some reason or another, it's a little more sometimes it's a little less. Typically, from what I've heard from Army and Navy, the academy usually deducts a little less. So there are some months where we can get close to our full paycheck, but then they'll give us another uniform and it'll go back down to 600 or something along those lines. I will say though that the academy usually deducts a little less throughout our experience.
That's Air Force Academy.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so we have some more questions. I'm going to throw them out there, and then you guys can chime in however, in whatever order you would like. There's one here. It's an anonymous attendee, so I don't know who is asking it. What was the most challenging part of getting a nomination, and what was their best advice on, or what is the best advice on the process?
So I think we can all go through this question. I'll go first, I guess. But for me, honestly, it was pretty easy. Just coming from an area with very few people who wanted to attend the Air Force Academy. So I think there was about 3 or 4 of us who applied for a nomination. So just numbers wise, that was easy. But my biggest thing would be just to practice your interview skills and just go in there prepared to answer some tough questions and actually get your point across of why you want to go, what's the reason you want to go, and your motivation. As long as you're motivated, excited to be there, and just have just good answers to good questions, you have a good chance. But it will be harder for other places that have, let's say, Colorado. They know way more about the academy than someone from Indiana, so they have more people applying for that district. So it will be more competitive there. So.
Thank you. Lieutenant Needham, Lieutenant Kim, any other advice?
Yeah, same. I mean, pretty similar advice. I think the confusing part about the nomination piece for the service academies is it's completely separate from the Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy admissions side, because we can't control that, and it's like that for a reason. So it's completely separate. So you have to go on their website, first of all, figure out who your senators are, who your representative is. You go on their website, and they're typically going to have like a service nomination page. And they're going to have all the requirements saying, hey, I want an interview, your SAT scores, personal statement in order to be considered for a nomination. So it's like a completely separate application process. And there's a common misconception that I've seen is you don't need to personally know that member of Congress. You just apply, and more likely than not, they're going to choose the most competitive candidate that applies from their district. So that competitive level, like Lieutenant Rommel said, based on where you live. So some districts, like 30 people might apply. Some districts, 1 or 2 people might apply. So how competitive it is really kind of depends on where you live.
Okay, great.
So that's another reason, like, don't look at that number of the GPA of being 3.8. Like, it can be pretty competitive to get into the service academies, but it's very relative to where you live. So I would encourage everyone, if you're interested, apply.
Great, thank you. So next one here are, what are some ways to develop and improve my leadership skills for the application?
So I can take that one, and I would imagine it's pretty similar for the Air Force Academy too, but it's a whole person application that we look at. So we're not just looking at academics, leadership, or sports. We're trying to look at every single piece of information that you put into your application. So what I recommend is, if you do anything, even if it might seem small, put it in your application. If you have a part-time job where you're doing 10 hours a week, put that into your application. If you're tutoring your younger brother or sister, put that in your application. So even if it might seem really small, put that in your application, because we're trying to get that information and see who you are as a whole person. In terms of leadership skills, what we're looking for is, hey, club president, varsity team captain. Those are some big ones, but there's leadership in everything that you do. So really try to capture, hey, you're still showing leadership capabilities when you're working 20 hours a week and balancing school and doing great. So what I recommend is, even if it might seem small, just put it in there in the extracurricular activities, and we're going to try to assess everything that you give us.
To press a little more on what Lieutenant Kim said, we don't necessarily want to see someone who's involved in 10 different activities, but only goes to them every few weeks or so. We want to see somebody who's more involved in like maybe 2 or 3, but is, like you said, the president or the head of those activities, or is heavily involved. We want to see commitment. We want to see you putting forth effort to develop those programs.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would recommend that you do something that you're passionate about, something that you care about, because that's going to go a lot further than trying to just do a bunch of clubs and a bunch of activities just to make your application look better. We can usually tell that. So really try to do what you're passionate about. is my recommendation.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I always tell my students the same thing. You know, having a resume of, you know, an hour here and there once every other month isn't as impressive per se as being dedicated to something that you give, you know, your commitment and your, you know, dedication to. So another question here with regards to the service commitment, both for the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy. Is it a 5-year service commitment for both the USNA and the USAFA? How many years of service commitment for advanced degrees mentioned in the USAFA presentation?
All right, so I'll talk about that first. Advanced degrees, that's getting your master's. So like all bachelors, for all the bachelor degrees, your service commitment depends on the job that you select afterwards. If you would like to get your master's, that usually adds on another, well, 2 or 3 years sometimes. There are ways to where the way the timer works is that it'll add on 3 years, but that runs at the same rate as your 5-year commitment. So you'll still be able to leave after 5 years. But as far as the service commitment goes, that usually just depends on the job you select. So I'm going to be a pilot. That's 10 years for me. If I wanted to go logistics or contracting, that's just 5 years. And there's a few more for like air battle manager, I believe is 6 or something along those lines. But yeah, you can check out our site to find out a little more on that.
Yeah, same thing on the Navy side. The minimum requirement for all the jobs that you do, it's going to be at least 5. But based on what job, so I'm a pilot, so I have a 10-year contract. So I'm 6 years into my 10-year requirement. And that's because they're investing a lot more money to train you up as a pilot. So same thing, if you become a medical doctor, your service commitment gets longer. That really just depends case to case. And it might be a little bit different between Navy and Air Force, but I would imagine they're pretty similar. I think that was it. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Sorry.
All right, thank you. So I know I get this question asked more from the parents really than the students. The anonymous attendee actually just put up Eagle Scout, and I'm thinking they're asking, is that a good leadership to, you know, to put out there? And I'm going to assume to say absolutely yes, because there are not very many people who actually move through the entire process of Boy Scout through Eagle Scout. That in itself is an accomplishment. So they're all shaking their heads yes right now. So, but from parents I hear with regards to the service commitment and what that looks like, mostly more moms than dads who are concerned about their children going off and, you know, going to war, is how they see it. And so when you are graduating as from the service academy and you have a degree and you are going into either a graduate program or into a high paid training program like a pilot or you know, having those longer service commitments. And I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but I would love to give them some guidance when they ask me. What does that really look like with you possibly going to war?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, what I'm asking? Okay.
Right. Well, I'll try to answer that to the best of my abilities. So I would say going into any active duty service, the whole, you know, the purpose of our existence is to maintain peace and use force if necessary. That's kind of our job and what we train to do. So especially if you're, you know, based on your job too, right? You can be more in the kind of the administrative support role, or you can be kind of like the combat portion, which is like pilot, special operations, if you become a Marine Corps officer, infantry. So based on kind of what job you choose, that percentage is probably going to change as well. And I would say the chances of you going to war, I can't really give you a number, but that's really going to be based on the geopolitical atmosphere of the world, which, you know, really changes. It's pretty volatile. It changes a lot. So who knows what can happen? Like the beginning of this year, things were getting heated up with Iran, you know? You never really know what can happen, but it's our job to be ready to take up that call. And that's kind of the whole point of us going into those jobs. So it's definitely always a possibility. And even if you do go into administrative support role, you can still be in a combat zone. So that is always going to be a possibility. However, I would say overall that most people don't see combat from my experience so far, like very few. I would say most people are in the administrative and support roles. And even if you are in a combat zone, like, like the difference between being a Navy SEAL and going on missions versus like, even if it's like very few people really have been seeing combat in today's environment, geopolitical environment. So kind of take that with a grain of salt, but things can change. So who knows what can happen, but I would say overall, probably pretty small.
Okay. Thank you. Lieutenant Needham or Lieutenant Spite, would you like to, chime in on that? If not, and you agree, that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to.
I agree.
Yeah,
Just a question, Lieutenant Kim, have you been deployed yet?
Yeah, I actually did 2 deployments to the Middle East.
Got it. So maybe if you could touch on that a little bit.
But yeah, even with my deployments, I deployed to Bahrain. I was land-based, which is pretty rare for Navy. Usually we're on ships. But, as a helicopter pilot, most of my job on deployment was logistics, moving people around. So I wasn't like dropping off SEALs for a direct action to go raid someone's house, right? So, and those kind of missions are really like, are hard to, there's not a lot of them right now. So, yeah, even I mostly did like very logistics kind of search and rescue stuff. So it really depends on what job you get. And it's like timing as well, like where you're based in terms of location. But, we all train to be able to do that if we need to do so. Hopefully not. So chances are pretty small, I think.
Great. Could you speak to your deployment and maybe the positives of being in another country, learning that culture, being there, what that was like, and, seeing a perspective that you may not have seen otherwise?
Absolutely. I mean,
of being being service academy and being deployed.
So I think one of the really unique opportunities about being in the military, and additionally being an officer in the armed forces, is you're put in charge of a lot of things at a very young age. So, like Lieutenant Needham and Rommel, they just graduated from college. They literally just graduated this year, but very soon here, they're going to be responsible for people, right? They're going to be responsible for their well-being and making sure they can do their job. And they're going to be in charge of flying aircraft. So, I think one of the biggest accomplishments that I've had so far in my life is I made aircraft commander. So the Navy basically trusted me to fly this $20 million helicopter, and my co-pilot and my 2 air crewmen in the back. So minimum 4 people's lives they entrusted to me with a $20 million aircraft to go fly and accomplish a mission, right? And we're flying in the Arabian Gulf in international waters with all the rules that apply and all the sensitive geopolitical situation, right? So, and I'm the aircraft commander, so I have to make those decisions on a split second, right? So that's a lot of responsibility, and it's a position that most people our age have not been put into. So it may seem like a lot, but of course they train you baby steps to get to where you need to be. But I think just being able to be in that stress-filled environment and be a competent leader and get the job done really says a lot. And if you do go to the service academies, you're going to be put into those positions, and it starts the first day that you start school, right? You don't just become that right off the bat. I actually think I learned a lot more about leadership and about who I was after I graduated from the academy because of the training and the stuff that I was exposed to, right? But going to the service academy really sets up the foundation and prepares you for the next 4 years to be able to do that. So yeah, there's a lot of pluses, I think. And the biggest thing is you're going to be exposed to a lot of uncomfortable stuff, a lot of training. We're constantly training in the military that really help you grow and push you in ways that I feel like I otherwise wouldn't have done that on my own. So being part of this organization and doing the job that I did really pushed me to achieve things and find out parts about myself that I didn't know that was, possible. I hope that kind of answers the question, but.
Absolutely, 100%. So we had another question. Realistically, what would you say is the latest a high school student can decide to pursue one of the academies and still have time to prepare and submit a quality application?
So I've seen applications that got started pretty late, and it really depends on what you can get accomplished, but limiting factors is going to be the nomination, right? Because you need a nomination from a member of Congress, and typically those deadlines are in October and November. So if you complete a Naval Academy application, but you don't have a nomination, you're not going to be able to go to the academy. So you really need to start looking at it now if you're going to be a senior. Really recommend that you start working on your application this summer before your senior year in high school.
Well, that's what I advise all my students anyway. We start, with the application process in June and July, but, to meet early action deadlines and stuff like that, which usually happen in November. But as you state here, there is a nomination process that needs to occur, and that's in October. And with that being a separate application, so you're doing two applications. Not only are you, doing the academy application, but you're also doing the nomination application. And I'm sure both of those are cumbersome and require quite some time. So I know that you all know that I'm a retired teacher and I used to be in the classroom. So whenever something hits my desk, I immediately can tell who put the time into it and who didn't. And I'm sure all of these gentlemen that are online right now who are reviewing applications know the difference between someone who has put time into their application and one that was slapped together last minute. It will be evident. So when you're talking about a quality application and when to prepare and submit that, I would say yesterday. So any other questions that we have here? It looks like we've answered everything, and we are just over our hour and a little bit mark. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go back to all of your busy work that you are doing. And once again, I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving of your time. Those of you that are on, their contact information is there for you. They are more than willing. I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, for those of you who are on, as of yesterday at 4 o'clock, I only had Lieutenant Kim presenting today because I could not get anyone from the Air Force or the military academy to 100% commit to me. And yesterday, Lieutenant Needham put together an entire panel. I only asked for one person. That was it, just one presenter. And for those of you who are still on, you will see that there is an entire, support staff that is going on behind the scenes answering your questions here. I can't thank you enough for, pulling that together and giving of your time and being so gracious to go over all of this with the students and the parents and the other counselors that are interested and need to learn and understand as we guide our students through this really, really tumultuous time. It's crazy right now. They're stressed out. Their parents are stressed out. Their teachers are stressed out. Everyone's stressed out. And we are doing our best to guide them in the right direction. And your support is truly, truly appreciated. So thank you very much. Thank you for your service. And if anybody else has any other questions, please direct it to their emails. I am sure they will be happy to answer your questions, and I am also available to you if you need it. Thank you, gentlemen.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, ma'am.